Getting locked into a spiral is something that scares a lot of paraglide pilots. And today I'm reviewing a video from YouTube that is one of the most terrifying videos that I have ever seen. I'm going to teach you everything I know about spirals and learning them and getting out of them so that you never have to experience this ever. Are you ready? Here we go.
See ya.
What's up, everybody? This is Ari in the air. Welcome back to the channel. Stoked you're here. If you're new, welcome. My name's Ari. I make videos here on YouTube trying to help you have better outcomes in your paragliding life with more joy and safety. And I also am the founder of the Paragliding Men's Group so that you can have better outcomes in your family, in your relationships, in your professional life. There's a new cohort of that launching soon. Check out the link in the description below. Let's watch this video once through, and then I will break it down, tell you what I see and what you need to know. Okay, so this guy is flying an Akuma 2 in a Niviak harness, and he's somewhere in the Middle East here. I can't tell if this is Lebanon. This is just kind of my intuition. He is on radio here. He holds his outside riser. Someone is coaching him on radio into spirals. That's what I take from this. I could be wrong, but he's doing a nice spiral here, and the person continues to coach him deeper and deeper and deeper into the spiral here. You can see now he's wingtip to the horizon, and now the leading edge starts to come over as he gets deeper into the spiral. You can see more airspeed as his shirt buffets. Now he's about at 45. This is 45 to the horizon is a pretty serious spiral. He kind of weight shifted away there for a second. Now he's just holding the outside riser and the spiral seems to intensify. I think that he's stuck in a spiral here. He's not sure what to do. And then he weight shifts away, pulls the outside brake, takes the most insane pitch I've ever seen, falls past the glider, gets tangled in the lines under his legs. The glider is in a knot, totally uncontrollable. He reaches for the reserve immediately, throws the reserve. It takes a long time to deploy, interacts with the glider here. Now his Insta camera has knocked off of its original tether and is hanging, which provides this insanely good view of all of this. Okay, so now the glider begins, it reinflates and starts to downplane. As you can see, the riser is looped under his knees here, and the pilot is not sure what to do and is downplaning. The glider is spiraling. You can see that his reserve parachute is in a horizontal configuration, meaning that it's not slowing his vertical descent as much as it is his horizontal airspeed. The glider is fully inflated, and now he starts to reach for some lines, and he starts to make some progress on slowing the glider down. And he's getting closer to these giant tanks that have open tops. Is he going to land in a tank? Is he going to land on the edge of one? Oh my God, it's really a disgusting situation upcoming. He does start to pull on a rear riser just in time. The glider is beginning to stall and starting to be over his head as he crashes super hard into the roof of this place. Yet he survives. Oh my God, there's so much to say about this. Where do I even begin? A couple things. In my experience teaching people SIV maneuvers, being conservative with what they might be able to handle in the intensity of paragliding is incredibly important. In this video, it does seem that whoever was on radio, and I am making some kind of assumption there because I don't speak the language that is being communicated, and I'm not exactly sure if I'm correct in that, but it does seem to be that way. I'll link the video in the description. You can check it out for yourself. But a spiral is a really important maneuver for a pilot to know. But what's important for a pilot to know about a spiral is not how to do it and how to get into a really strong one with a lot of descent. It's how to bleed the energy out of a spiral. That is what is important. That is why we teach that in SIV. Sure, having the experience of what happens when your glider spirals is something that a pilot should know. But the progression of teaching someone to spiral is to get them to do, a 540 and then watch that they can bleed out the energy. Then they do a 720 and then you watch that they can bleed out the energy. And then once you can trust that they can bleed out the energy, you can coach them to introduce more and more force, more and more airspeed into the system. Until you know that someone can bleed out the energy of a spiral, coaching them to put more and more energy into the system is a horrible idea that does not serve anyone. The other thing to note here is that paragliding is incredibly scary. Anyone who tells you otherwise is totally disconnected from their own emotions and their own body. Paragliding is overwhelming. It is not something that humans are used to. It is something that you have to get used to. This is why it's so exciting. This is why it's so rewarding emotionally. As instructors and as people who are learning it, we have to recognize that nervous system regulation is of the utmost importance. So until you know that your student can deal with very intense stimulation and not leave the scene of the crime, that's a saying for that they don't panic and become a deer in the headlights and just freeze, then you cannot conscionably introduce your student into more and more intense scenarios until you know that emotionally that they're ready for it. This is super important. This is where I think this instructor goes wrong. And maybe he's just a friend, but whoever you take instruction from on a radio is, man, such an important decision. Okay, so there's a couple things that I see in this pilot's flying that suggest to me that he's not ready for this maneuver. First of all, he's grabbing this left riser as if he's going to do a sat. You don't want to grab the riser. The outside brake you want to be connected to even throughout a spiral. You need that outside brake. You need to know how to use it, when to use it, how to use it, why you should use it. Just holding onto the riser is never an option in paragliding. As he gets further and further into the spiral, if I was his instructor, I would want to see him do 5 exits from this level of spiral here before I let him move to tilting the leading edge towards the horizon. And in this video, he demonstrates that he's not ready for that. Because here, if we're watching, he's spiraling, it's getting more intense. At some point, he weight shifts away from the spiral, right? Here, he weight shifts away and it doesn't break. At this point, I believe that he is locked into the spiral. A spiral lock-in is a totally normal phenomenon with a paraglider that everyone should know about and you shouldn't be that afraid of. Basically, anytime that the paraglider is flying over your head and you start to spiral it dips over, once the leading edge starts to tilt towards the horizon, basically anything past 10 degrees, the glider might lock into a spiral. Lock in does not mean that it cannot come out of a spiral. That is not what it means at all. Lock-in means that the pilot no longer has to do anything to keep the glider spiraling. And it can really scare people because they want to stop spiraling, so they stop pulling the inside brake, but the glider does not stop spiraling at that point. This is why I think that when you saw him weight shift to the outside, that was him saying, okay, I've had enough. He put his right hand up, he weight shifted to the outside, hoping that that would break the spiral. It did not, and then he was in a mode of panic. His nervous system is totally overwhelmed here, and there's no amount of radio communication that is going to get him out of this. Something really needs to change. So a locked out spiral just means that a pilot is going to have to use the outside brake to break the spiral, to stop it from spiraling. Obviously, the technique that you can learn from SIV and instructors all over the world is that when you are spiraling, you have a lot of energy built up into the system. And if you're spiraling to the right, as this man is, when the spiral breaks, the glider wants to stand up and it wants to swing you way up in front of it. This is what we see in the end. He actually stands the glider up too fast. So he just goes up and up and up, and it actually throws him up and back towards the glider and he falls towards the lines. Oh my God, it's crazy. What needs to happen is when you break that spiral, you break the spiral with the outside brake, maybe some outside weight shift. And then as it starts to stand up, you actually pull the inside brake once again to keep the glider banked over in the way that you were spiraling initially so that you can now bleed the energy out of the system. As we see here, he builds up a ton of energy into a spiral, pulls outside brake, outside weight shift, stands the glider up, swings straight under it, produces one of the most incredible pitches I've ever seen anywhere. It goes horribly for him. You have to be able to bleed out spirals. Don't let yourself get locked out until you know how to bleed it out. And instructors all over the world, I have never seen something like this of coaching someone further and further into a deep, deep spiral until the instructor really knew that the person wouldn't panic, wouldn't freeze, and also knew how to bleed the spiral out on their own. So I think there's a number of mistakes here. I'm not condemning anyone. This is just what I'm observing. So he goes for a long time locked into this spiral, not knowing what to do, with his left hand just clenching the riser. He's sitting in the middle of the harness. He's just weight shifted in the middle. I think at some point the instructor is yelling over the radio, and he pulls and he stands the glider up, and he just gets this wicked, insane pitch that flips him through the lines. And it's because the lines are going from the riser under his leg that produce this shape of glider. He then does the right thing, which is deploy the reserve immediately. Okay. Hopefully you gathered some of the spiral techniques. Lockout, like you have to know how to bleed it out before you add more energy. That's what's important about learning spirals in the first place. It's not that you can do spirals. It's that you can bleed the energy out when you get energy. If you take a big collapse and the glider shoots and it goes leading edge down, now you have a bunch of energy in the system, and you're going to want to know how to bleed that energy out. That's why we teach spirals in SIV. That's why you want to know what a spiral is and how to do it. It's so that you can bleed it out. It's not so that you can wind it up. It's not so that you can deal with the G-force. It's not so that you can hear the wind noise. It's none of that. Only just so that you can bleed it out. This is why in SIV these days, rapid exit from spiral is something that we teach a lot. Obviously, we're not going this deep into spirals when we're teaching rapid exit. Rapid exit is a way to learn how to control pitch, extreme pitch, which is going to be my next video. Extreme pitch control. So there's a number of factors here that did not serve this man, and I feel somewhat protective of him between him and whoever was on the radio, but I also don't speak this language, so there's a lot I'm just kind of like out on a plank for, so don't crucify me for. But it is pretty interesting that his GoPro his Insta disconnected and then produced this crazy view of this, right? So now the round parachute is open. In general, rounds are kind of outdated. Squares are much better for pendular stability. But what you need to know about reserve deployments is that you have to control the glider. This is a perfect example. Looking at this frame right here, this is a down plane. The parachute is horizontal, the glider is leading edge down, and the parachute and the paraglider are working against one another. They find homeostasis to pull against one another, and the vertical speed is very, very high. In this configuration with the glider spiraling like this, I bet he's going down 10 meters a second, which can absolutely kill you. Most parachutes are rated for the top of the weight range to crash at 5.5 meters per second or less. Anything that your paraglider is doing that is creating an angle of your parachute that's not perfectly over your head is increasing your sink rate, and you're going to crash harder. So you know that your parachute is working perfectly when it is perfectly above your head and it's not oscillating, okay? And until the parachute is in that configuration, you must continue working to disable the paraglider so that the parachute can do its job. And best case scenario, you get the paraglider into a configuration where it contributes acting like a parachute so that it slows your descent rate further. The pilot in question has demonstrated some deer in the headlights behavior today. That's my assumption anyways. And he does more of that here on his reserve ride. He's not sure what to do. In this configuration, get strong. If you are not maintaining your fitness as a paraglide pilot, then you are opening yourself up to so many different things that can kill you. If you're not physically strong, then you shouldn't paraglide. You should be doing push-ups and pull-ups just to maintain your upper body strength. So much of paragliding is pulling down on the brakes quickly and accurately, and in a lot of cases, with a lot of strength. Brake pressure can get really high in emergency situations. You need to be strong. In this case, he needs to be pulling in on the rear risers or whatever he can do to disable the glider. In this case, he's flying a 3-liner. I would recommend either the brake line, which is sheathed. You always fly with gloves for exactly this reason. Sometimes pulling in a 1-line can burn the shit out of your hands. So the brake line is always sheathed, and I would recommend reeling in on either the brake line here just to brake the glider and stall it, or the rear riser. But either way, he needs to be doing it, and sooner the better. The optimal configuration for this is where you actually get the glider all the way into you and you pinch it between your legs so that it is not influencing the parachute whatsoever, and might even provide some padding or drag at the very least on your descent to the ground. So in this configuration, he is just sitting here. He's got it wrapped around his knees in this weird way, but now he starts reaching up. He grabs the brake line. You see, now he started pulling on the brake line. Keep going, brother. Keep going. Reel in on that thing. Reel in on it. Just wrap it around your hands if you have to. At the very end, the glider stalls. I think this honestly saves his life. So he actually did what he needed to do. He did it very late, but he did it. Okay, so he's rolling back. He gets close to the ground and watch, he does the right thing. He pulls in on that brake line, pull, keep pulling, keep pulling, keep pulling, keep pulling, keep pulling, keep pulling. Take that wrap and take that brake and bring it all the way into you until you can get a hold of the sail, take the sail and then just wad it up into your lap and stuff it between your legs. Reserve deployments are very scary, and it is no wonder that in such intense situations that pilots don't perform their best. So this is just another point that I have to make, that nervous system regulation is a skill that no instructor teaches in paragliding. We don't talk about fear nearly enough. We don't talk about our overwhelm and hyperstimulation. Paragliding is one of the most intense, scary, crazy, overwhelming things that a human can do. I have been a professional action sports athlete my entire adult life. Big jumps and backflips and base jumping and just all of the craziest stimuli. And paragliding still to this day can trigger the shit out of me. I have had to learn how to regulate my breath and nourish myself with my food and keep myself fit and mentally stable and healthy so that I can stay safe and progress in this sport. It's a huge part. Nobody talks about it. So if that interests you at all, then you're probably a man who would fit in really well in the paragliding men's group. Most people who come into the paragliding men's group have seen therapists. They love women and their relationships mean a lot to them. They take themselves seriously enough to want to improve their lives and know what skills they have. They want to improve their communication. They want to be positive influences over their children, their loved ones, their families, the people that they work around. They want to make the world a better place in general. So if that's you, then consider applying for the paragliding men's group. Another cohort launches very, very soon. Link is in the description below. I hope this video is helpful. I don't want lockout or deep spirals to scare you inherently. You need to be able to modulate these things. I can't exactly teach you those skills here on YouTube. I highly recommend that you find yourself a great SIV instructor and spend lots of time practicing maneuvers. Thanks so much for watching. Fly safe and happy, please. Sending you my love and best wishes. I'll see you in the next episode.